I'm Lieutenant Colonel Robert Carver. I am the State Public Affairs Officer for the North Carolina National Guard. Afraid I've got some disappointing news, some bad news today. The North Carolina Air National Guard, and indeed the North Carolina National Guard and the Guard across the country, is grieving today. The military C-130, equipped with a modular airborne firefighting system, otherwise known as MAFS, that crashed while battling a fire in southwestern South Dakota at approximately 6:30 p.m. yesterday, belonged to the North Carolina Air National Guard's 145th Airlift Wing based here in Charlotte. There were casualties. Our thoughts and prayers goes out to those who lost their lives and to those who were injured, and especially to the family members of these airmen. They are paramount on our minds. We're going to provide you with more information about the casualties as we're able to. We think we're probably going to be able to do that sometime tomorrow morning. The cause of the crash has not been determined. It is being investigated. At the time of the crash, the crew was fighting what was called the White Draw Fire near Edgemont, South Dakota. As a prudent measure, the MAFS-equipped C-130s are on an operational hold at this time, so they're not flying today. And we will, of course, notify you when there's more information available. Glad to take some questions now if I can do that.
Can you tell us how many casualties there were?
At this point, I can't tell you how many casualties, and I can't tell you the nature of the casualties. Hopefully tomorrow morning we'll be able to clear up information with regard to that.
How many people are on a crew for one of those?
6.
What was the year of that crash?
I'll have to check on that and get back to you.
How many planes came out of here, 2 or 3?
We had 3, 2 aircraft carrying MAFS modules and 1 aircraft carrying personnel and equipment.
Was that third aircraft also C-130?
Yes.
The 3 C-130s?
Yes, exactly.
How many total came out here?
Total C-130s?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, that's personnel.
About 3 dozen.
Where are they based in, where are they staged out there?
Well, you know, they were staged initially in Colorado Springs, and then today they were going to move up to Cheyenne.
Is that where they are now?
1 aircraft, I believe, is in Cheyenne at the moment. Yeah.
And the other one is in Colorado Springs?
I believe the 2 aircraft are in Cheyenne.
You know, other media are reporting that 3 bodies were pulled from the wreckage. What can you say about that?
Can't talk to you at this point about the nature of the casualties. Obviously, there were casualties. There were lives lost. There were injuries. We're very grateful for the survivors, and our thoughts and prayers and our hearts go out to the families that have lost loved ones.
So of the 6 on board, there were at least some survivors.
That's correct.
Can you talk about the captain? Captain Michael, his family is confirmed at this point that he was lost.
I can't talk about the casualties with any specifics at the moment.
Typically, what altitude do they fly during these missions?
Rose, why don't you give me a hand with that?
About 100.
There you go, about 150 feet.
And was this plane dropping chemicals or fire retardant at the time?
It was engaged in the MAFS mission, dropping fire retardant along the leading edge of the fire.
Do you know how many trips they had already made, how many times they had already dropped the fire?
I don't know for sure. I'd have to check on that.
So all C-130s that do this firefighting grounded not only in Wyoming but also in Colorado, is that correct?
There are 4 units that do the MAFS mission. North Carolina, Wyoming, and the California Air National Guard. Those are the National Guard units. And then there's an Air Force Reserve unit that is in Colorado Springs.
Had this plane or the crew been involved in previous firefighting efforts before the mission this weekend?
All of these crew members were experienced at their posts. So they had definitely been involved in MAFS training and missions in the past.
Had they been experiencing trouble before they went down to your knowledge?
Don't know about that.
I've also heard that another aircraft like this, that there was a crash last month and 2 crew members were killed. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Don't know anything about that one.
You said 6:30. Is that Central Time?
Mountain.
Mountain Time?
That was yesterday evening, right?
Correct.
The fact that there's this operational hold now, what is the ripple effect on those who are fighting those wildfires out there?
I'm going to have to refer you to the AEG and the NIFC for that kind of information. They're the ones who make the plans on how to fight the fires, the strategy behind how they go about that.
These were quite a valuable resource, though, when it comes to fighting those fires, right?
They're a valuable and effective resource. When they put the flame retardant down or the fire retardant down on the leading edge of the fire, it's very effective at keeping the fire from advancing.
Well, a couple of crew members before they went, they said they were confident with the aircraft, with the guard, with the people they were flying with. Can you speak to us about that confidence? If it's wavering now, either in the plane or if something went wrong?
Well, can't speculate on what may or may not have happened that caused the incident. That's going to be investigated in the next weeks and months, and the cause will be determined. It'll be announced at some point. But these crews are very confident. They enjoy this mission. It's a very important mission. They take it very seriously. They train very hard for it. So to say that they're not affected by this emotionally because they've lost friends, they've had friends hurt, clearly that's going to be the case. But does it affect their desire to do a good job, to do this vital mission? No, not at all.
It seems like a very close-knit community. How's everything doing?
Well, people are shaken, as you would expect them to be. It is really a family, particularly in the Air National Guard. It's a small, close-knit community. It's even a smaller group of people that do the MAFS mission. So it does take a toll on them.
They had mentioned to us over the weekend that they had training for this just in May. Can you speak to what goes on during that training, the length of it?
Well, they do everything that they would normally do during an actual MAFS mission. They practice dropping water as they would in an actual mission. They practice filling the MAFS units. They work at the jobs that they would do at every station in the aircraft and on the ground.
Were they trained for that right here?
This year's training was in South Carolina, in Greenville. Yeah. I believe some of you covered some of that too, so you probably got some video somewhere.
Did you say there was an operational hold?
Yeah, there's a pause. They're not flying today.
Just the North Carolina crew, or
all the MAFS units.
And how long will that last?
Don't know. That's going to be up to the planners. That's not something that we would make a decision on here.
What's the purpose of that?
Well, they're going to stand down and talk about what happened, talk about the mission. But again, exactly where they go from there is up to the planners out in the West.
And so the mission of this plane was to fly on the leading edge of the fire,
right?
Drop chemicals,
right?
Are they typically in smoke at that point?
They could be. I mean, it's challenging flying. It could be smoky, lots of different temperature variations, challenging terrain. These people are experts at what they do, and it's a very good mission for us. It's a mission that they're proud to do.
Can you tell us about the terrain out there?
I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know exactly where they were, what the terrain was that they were over.
So tomorrow we'll have more information on the casualties. Is that when we should still notifying family members, or what can happen in the next 24 hours?
There are some time limits that we have to observe before we can make the announcements. And so we're going to observe those, and when that time period runs out, we'll be able to come out and let everybody know who the individuals were.
Can you give us, for the survivors, what kind of condition they're in?
I can tell you that they were seriously injured.
How often are those planes inspected?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that one because I'm not a maintenance officer. I'll have to find that out.
But they are regularly.
Oh yeah, the maintenance on them is very intense. Absolutely.
How many other crashes have there been like this type of crash?
There has never been a MAFS crash.
There's never been a crash of a C-130 firefighting plane?
There's never been a MAFS C-130 crash. No, there has not.
And how many survivors did you say that?
I can't talk to you about the casualties yet.
And how long have they had this type of firefighting on C-130?
This is the 40th year.
What's the acronym that you keep referring to? MAFS?
MAFS, mm-hmm.
M-A-F-S?
Modular Airborne Firefighting System.
And they've been doing this for 40 years?
40 years. Mm-hmm.
You can't say where the victims are being treated?
They are in a hospital in Rapid City, South Dakota.
How many?
I can't talk about the casualties yet.
As far as the mission they were on, you said Edgemont, South Dakota?
They were near Edgemont, South Dakota. They were fighting the White Draw fire.
Off the top of your head, do you know how big of a fire?
I don't.
Acreage?
I don't.
Since this has never happened, is it standard for you to shut down a unit after there's a crash in general?
That's a decision that's up to the planners. They have things that they want to do. They made the decision to shut the operation down, at least temporarily.
Have these units been crucial in fighting the Colorado fires?
They are crucial in fighting every fire that they go out on, because if the MAFS units go to a mission, that means that all the other assets are either unavailable or fully tasked.
Are they a last resort force?
Well, as I say, they come out when everything else is exhausted.
During that training that you were talking about, is their training specific to difficult terrain like the one that
They work with the realistic scenarios. So the idea is to prepare them for mission success by making it as real as possible during training.
So I guess the effect of an operational hold would be now fires just fought on the ground rather than having a ground in here.
Well, there are other tanker assets, but I would say for the specifics of how they're actually combating the fire, you're going to need to call the National Interagency Fire Center, talk to the folks out there that are working with the Forest Service.
Can you touch briefly on character? Because one person we talked to, that they knew they were going into a dangerous terrain, altitude. Can you just talk to us about the character of the men and women on these flights?
It's the character of the citizen airman, the people who volunteer to go out and do tough jobs in tough situations. These are the same people who go to the tough spots around the world and represent during our nation's wars. You can't ask for people of higher character who go in harm's way and volunteer to do so.